One day, two guys went camping. One of them got bitten by a viper on his penis. He screamed to his friend, "Call the doctor immediately and ask what we should do." The friend calls the doctor and tells him that his buddy got bitten by a viper. The doctor advises, "You must suck the poison out of the penis. Otherwise, your friend will die within 12 hours. The bitten one asks, "So, what did the doctor say?" "That you'll die within 12 hours.
What does a sheriff in Alabama say after pulling a black man out of the lake, wrapped in 12 meters of chain? Motherfucker stole more than he could carry.
A soldier had a very small dick. Of course, the sergeant mocked him for it. One day, the soldier was called in for a skin checkup. After the examination, the sergeant calls him into his office. "So, you went for a checkup today?" "Yes, sir, I did." "And the doctor asked you to strip down?" "Yes, sir. He said I'm as healthy as a horse." "And did he mention anything about your dick?" asks the malicious sergeant. "Oh, about you? He didn't mention you at all."
Sarah goes to the gynecologist for an examination. She gets up on the examining table with her feet in the stirrups, and the doctor, with his head now between her legs, whispers to himself, "My, what a large vagina. My, what a large vagina. My, what a large vagina. I heard you the first time. How many times must you say that?" "I only said it once."
Lately, it's been so hot that I went up to my boss and asked her, "Boss, can I give you a hug?" "But why?" "It's so hot today, and you're such a cold bitch."
A man discovered new condoms, Olympic. He bought a set and showed it to his wife at home. "Why are these condoms called Olympic?" asked the wife. "They come in 3 colors like medals, gold, silver, and bronze," explains the husband. "And which one will you wear today?" asks the wife seductively. "Of course the gold one," the man boasts. "Yes, I thought so. You should wear the silver one and come second for once, right?"
Two guys are standing by a friend's grave at the cemetery. Just look at him. He didn't drink, he didn't smoke, he didn't have a mistress, ate healthy. Yeah, he died of boredom.
An old dying Jew is lying on his deathbed with his wife by his side. In a weak voice, he says to her, "When we were on our honeymoon many years ago and I was lying in the cabin seasick, you were there for me. When I broke my leg a few years later and was in the hospital, you were there for me too. When my business went bankrupt, you were there for me. And now that I'm dying, you're here again. And I can't help but wonder, aren't you bad luck for me?"
A satisfied wife approaches her husband and says, "Honey, I gathered a whole bag of my clothes to give to the needy." "Why? Wouldn't it be easier to throw them away?" "Throw them away? There are poor and hungry people in the world who could use them. Trust me, no one who can fit into your clothes is hungry."
What is the difference between a fly and a wife? A fly only pisses you off in the summer.
Two friends meet. "I finally got rid of 200 pounds of disgusting, unnecessary fat." "Really? Did you lose that much weight?" "No, I got a divorce."
A man was driving on the highway and suddenly felt an urgent need. A need that couldn't wait. He drove to the nearest gas station and headed to the thinking temple. When he was already seated and concentrating, he heard someone entering the next stall. After a moment, a question came from that stall. "Hi, how are you doing?" The man felt awkward. He usually didn't talk to strangers, especially in such a place. But he hesitantly replied, Nothing. Everything is fine. Listen. Tell me what you're going to do now. Well, I don't know. The man felt increasingly embarrassed by this exchange. I'm going to Milwaukee and then back to Chicago. You know what? I'll call you later. Some idiot in the next stall is answering all my questions.
I never understood why men's sexual needs differ so much from women's sexual needs. All this talk about Mars and Venus. I also never understood why only men are capable of thinking rationally. Last week I went to bed with my wife. We started caressing and touching under the covers. I was already hot as hell, and I thought she was too, because what we were doing was clearly sexual. But right at that moment she said to me, "Listen, I don't feel like making love right now. I just want you to hold me, okay?" I was shocked and asked, "What?" And what do you think her response was? It's obvious, isn't it? She said, "You just don't understand women's emotional needs." Finally, I gave up and surrendered. I didn't have sex that night, and I fell asleep instead. The next day, I went shopping with my wife at the mall. I watched her as she tried on 3 beautiful but very expensive dresses. Since she couldn't decide, I told her to take all 3. She couldn't believe her ears. And motivated by my understanding words, she declared that she also needed new shoes to go with the new dresses. I replied that she was absolutely right. Then we passed by a jewelry counter. My wife approached the display and came back with a diamond necklace. If you could see her, she was ecstatic. She probably thought I had gone crazy, but she didn't really care. I think I destroyed all the philosophical thinking patterns she had relied on so far when I once again said yes and added a beautiful necklace. Now she was practically sexually aroused. People. Her face expressed so many emotions, you would have to see it. At that moment, with her most beautiful smile, she said, "Come on, let's go to the checkout counter." It was hard for me not to burst out laughing when I replied, "No, darling, I don't feel like buying all this right now." Her face turned pale as a wall, even more so when I added, "I just feel like you taking me in your arms." As she was on the verge of bursting with anger and hatred, I put the final nail in the coffin. "You simply have no idea about men's financial capabilities. I think I won't have sex for another 10 years.
A man goes to the doctor and complains that he has rectal hypersensitivity. The doctor tries to dismiss him, saying that such a condition doesn't exist. "But doctor, I really have it, and I can't bear it any longer. Let me prove it to you by examining me." Reluctantly, the doctor agrees. He instructs the man to remove his pants and bend over. Then he inserts a wooden medical spatula between his buttocks and asks, "What do you feel?" "I feel a 40-year-old ash tree that survived 2 forest fires from northern British Columbia cut down 2 seasons ago, processed in a Prince George sawmill, finished with German sandpaper with a grain." "Enough," interrupts the doctor. "Let's try something else." The doctor looks around the office and thinks about what to put there. He has a stethoscope at hand, so he quickly inserts it between the patient's buttocks. "What do you feel?" "I feel low-grade iron ore from deposits in Canada extracted about 5 years ago, smelted in a steel mill in Cleveland, Ohio, with a slight addition of manganese, titanium, and—" "Enough," the annoyed doctor interrupts, who, in a final act of desperation, splashes a cup of hot tea on his rear. "Ouch! What, is it hot? No, it's bitter."